Welcome to our Shades of Blue webcast for today on Friday. My name is Dr. Karen Long from NASA's Digital Learning Network, and I'm pleased to be able to welcome you to this webcast. I want to let you know that you'll be able to participate in today's webcast by emailing your questions to shadesofbluewebcast@gmail.com. That's shadesofbluewebcast@gmail.com. On today's program, we have a variety of wonderful guests for this morning's show. We have Dr. Dan Cherry, who is lead for NASA's Digital Learning Network. We have Eric Woods, who is president of the Black Pilots of America. Colonel George London Jr., president and chief flight instructor, the first African American test pilot instructor at Edwards Air Force Base. And we also have Herbert Jones Jr., an original Tuskegee Airman. I want you to stay tuned. We'll be right back with the program.
Eric Woods is the president of the Herbert Jones Jr. chapter of the Black Pilots of America in Washington, D.C. He spends many weekends at the local black-owned flight school, HJ Aviation, helping to manage operations and teaching ground school classes. Eric attended Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, the first school for science and engineering in North America in Troy, New York. Mr. Woods then completed his Bachelor of Science degree at Howard University in Chemical Engineering in 1984. Eric has since been recruited to join the Department of Defense as a chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear CBRN engineer. After more than 10 years with the DoD, Eric continues this day as a subject matter expert in CBRN defense, software development, business process improvement, mass warning and communication systems, and systems engineering.
My next guest is Mr. Eric Woods, who is with the BPA, the Black Pilots of America. Eric, thank you very much for coming in and being a part of this opportunity to share across the world the opportunities that are available. As an airline pilot, I've been with United Airlines now for 38 years. I've been flying airplanes for about 42 years. Since I was about 17 years of age, I took my very first flight at 16. And the opportunities that are available in the aviation field, for example, right now, in America alone, we're going to lose due to retirement, because I'm one of those old guys that will be retiring here in the next 5 years. And we are going to need about 69,000 airline pilots here in the United States.
Wow.
Now, we extrapolate that across the world, and these are some real numbers. They're accurate numbers. Based on Boeing statistics that indicate that worldwide we're going to be short by 2032 565,000 pilots worldwide shortage. Now, this is a golden opportunity for our young people that want to get into the pipeline, that want to think about being a pilot, to do that. Can you tell us a little bit about BPA and how that would help these young people become professional aviators?
Sure. The Black Pilots of America is a nationwide organization. We have 23 chapters across the country, and one of our major goals is to promote the youth in aviation, especially disadvantaged youth. As you pointed out, the pilot shortage that we're going to have to deal with, one of the things that contributes to that shortage is how difficult it is to get started, how expensive it is, and how it actually works. You know, airlines just don't hire pilots off the street. You usually have to bring yourself to a certain point and then hope that they will pick you up. So one of the missions of the Black Pilots of America is try to help bridge that gap and how to help young people get started and get to that point. I also started when I was 16 and got my license at 17, but I didn't know anybody that flew, and my motivation was just the Air Force shows and TV. But I had supportive parents, and I was able to work part-time at Geno's, it's kind of like a McDonald's, and be able to get my license. So I look today at the challenges, and that's why I'm so passionate about BPA and what we do to bridge that gap. And one of those things we do is our Summer Flight Academy. We've actually been doing this for over 43 years. It's currently in Texas, in Houston. It's 2 weeks during the summer. And we have students ages 14 to 19.
Wow.
And it's a 2-week program, and you study the first half of the day, and you fly the second half of the day.
Okay.
And we also get a visit to the Space Flight Center in Houston, and we have other side activities. And one of the main things is they get to live on a college campus for 2 weeks. So they get to envision themselves actually being in college, actually going to college. And so it's not a foreign thing anymore, or something that seemed to be, out of reach. And as a result of that, the head of the program has gotten many letters from parents saying, what have you done to my child? They're focused. They do their homework now. They're studying. They're motivated. I mean, I can't believe this is the same kid. So we like to kind of spread that and see that happen more across the country.
Wow, that's absolutely fabulous. And you'll be able to, for the audience out there, we'll be able to link you up through our organization at OurShadesOfBlue.org with BPA, and be able to provide that opportunity to, I think it's an absolutely fantastic way for a young person to be introduced to aviation. And you can imagine going and spending, say, a week learning all about the principles of flight, thrust, lift, drag, and gravity, and all of those types of things, the aerodynamic lift of an airplane. And then after you learn that, then getting into a real airplane and applying that by being a pilot. That's fantastic. Now, looks like we have a question coming in.
Sure.
I have never ridden in a plane. How can I learn to fly one?
You may also want to check into the EAA, the Experimental Aircraft Association. The Experimental Aircraft Association has a Young Eagles program, and they do free demonstration flights for kids. In fact, as part of our meeting, we have a flying competition, Black Pilots of America, every Memorial Day weekend in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. We do some EAA Young Eagles flights, and this past year we flew over 178 kids on their first flights, and in an airplane at all, much less. So I would definitely go out to your local airport or look into the EAA Young Eagles program.
And just to add a little bit to that, the Experimental Aircraft Association was founded a few years ago. It was with an idea of taking and getting 1 million students an airplane ride. In 1903, when the Wright brothers first flew the Wright Flyer in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, it flew less than the wingspan of a 747. But their goal was by 100 years to get 1 million kids an airplane ride. They reached that goal, and it's my understanding now that they're above 2.5 million students that have actually got an airplane ride through the Young Eagles. And for those of you who have questions, please feel free to contact us at the Shades of Blue Webcast at gmail.com. That's the Shades of Blue Webcast at gmail.com. And I think it's absolutely wonderful and fantastic that you can be here and share that opportunity. One of the things that we have done with Shades of Blue in the various parts of the country is we take professional airline pilots alongside of certified flight instructors. Certified flight instructors, for example, are our subject matter experts. They are blessed by the FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Administration, to be able to certify an individual has the qualifications that it needs to get in an airplane, take off, fly safely, and return home safely. It looks like we have another question coming in. Who encouraged you to become a pilot?
Actually, I did.
Okay.
I actually didn't know anyone that flew. And after I got my license, I actually thought I was the only black pilot in Washington, D.C., because when I went out to the airport and took my lessons, I never saw anybody that looked like me. And went back home and just came out for lessons. And it wasn't until after I graduated from college and came back into aviation, I decided to investigate some of the other airports around, and then I found out that there were a ton of black pilots, and I thought I was the only one.
But that goes to show you, in certain communities across our country, we don't realize that those opportunities are available. But on this webcast today, you now know that the opportunities are available. If you're out there in the Canary Islands, I'm pretty sure that there's a small airport, or might even be a large airport out there you could go out to and fly. Coming across to the U.S. and going all the way across the country, we have thousands and thousands of airports out there that you can go out and be introduced and exposed. As an airline pilot, I work with United Airlines, and we have over 13,000 pilots at United, and I can guarantee each one of us have our own unique story on what it took for us to become an airline pilot. We have avenues such as what I did. I started out working a week to pay for 1 hour of flying. I built up my hours to get my private pilot's license. I continued to work. Got a pilot's degree in school, in junior college, because I didn't have a lot of money. And then I moved over to a 4-year college. And I actually went from there, after I graduated with a commercial pilot certificate and an instrument rating. I was fortunate enough that United Airlines saw me, and they hired me not as a pilot, but as a flight attendant. And I started out as a flight attendant, where I worked for 8.5 years in the back. And you say, why would he do that? Well, guess what? It gave me a foot in the door. That opened up the door for me to be able to go in flight from in the cabin up into the cockpit. And I could observe the professional pilots that were up there in the cockpit that was flying. And I could see what they were doing, and I would talk with them. And one of the things that I asked the captain one time, I said, what do you consider to be a good first officer? And this is some fabulous words of advice that he turned around to me and said. He said to me, a good first officer for me is to be that information that I need when I need to make that critical decision.
Wow.
In other words, you need to know everything you need to know when you know it.
Yep.
And it looks like we have another question that comes in. Who inspired you to work with the Black Pilots of America?
Well, just so happens that the person that inspired me to do that is here today, and is going to be another one of our guests in a few minutes.
And what's that gentleman's name?
Mr. Herbert Jones.
Mr. Herbert Jones.
Mr. Herbert Jones is an original Tuskegee Airman.
Oh my goodness.
And upon leaving service, he was very active in the civilian community, and today he's known as the godfather of black aviation in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely fantastic.
He had a club called the Cloud Club 2, about 3 airplanes, 4 or 5 at one time, and really has been there as a mentor and a guide for virtually every black pilot in D.C. for that entire 30-year span. Could attribute some of their success to Mr. Jones.
Wow. Well, we'll look forward to having that conversation with Mr. Jones. Hey, I want to thank you, Mr. Woods, for coming in and sharing with our students all across the country, and thank you for what you're doing to help better the future of our nation.
Well, thank you,
greatly
sir.
Appreciate it.
Nice to be with you.